So hi everyone, I'm Tiffany and today I'm recording another video for my second channel. If you'd like to check out my main channel, you may look into the description box. I'm sure I'll put the link there. And today I'd like to tell you a story about my growing up as a child. So I grew up pretty much in general a happy child. I was a happy kid, but there were some episodes in my growing up during the process when I grew up that weren't so happy. As a kid, I used to really fear the prospect of going on stage, and I was really scared of how people saw me and how I would perform on the stage. And you know, if you happen to be like me, you grew up in Hong Kong and you study in one of the local primary schools, you may know that you have to play a kind of instrument in the classroom in front of the whole class in your music lesson. So that's what I did. I had to play a recorder, which is what we all had to play at that time. And when I did that in front of the whole class, I used to shake so badly. My whole body would shake because I was just so scared, and I had a really bad stage fright. That was how serious it was. So my fingers would shake. So you can imagine, let's say you are playing a flute or recorder or some sort of instrument like that, some sort of wind instrument like that, and you're on the stage, how bad it would look to the whole class. And my fingers would shake so badly that everyone in the class would laugh. And there was also another episode during my primary school life which went like this. I had to go on stage during a storytelling competition. It's a Chinese storytelling competition, so you may think there is no reason to be scared of that competition, but it turned out that I had to tell a story about, I think, the stationery talked to each other, the eraser talked to the pencil, or the pencil talked to the eraser, something like that, some silly story like that. And I, in the middle of the story, while I was speaking, it was midway through my story, and I had to stop, and while I froze on the stage because I practically forgot the rest of the story and I couldn't go on. I just froze there, and I stood on the stage and everyone was staring at me. I had a feeling silently, and I had a feeling somehow that they were all laughing at me in their hearts, even though they may not doing this loud. So it was horrible for me, to be frank. And going on the stage had always been a nightmare when I was younger. And it was only until I became older that I started to gradually gain confidence in myself in terms of public speaking as a public speaker. And I think one of the reasons behind this is that one of my teachers really trusted me and really had confidence and faith in me that I would do well in this aspect, in the aspect of language learning. And she told me that I could do it, and she encouraged me to be a public speaker, to be an MC, to speak in public occasions. And I also happen to have had the privilege of being taught by some of the most kind teachers out there, and they encouraged me to just go out there to speak in front of the whole class, even though they didn't do so by encouraging me to speak alone. They encouraged us by telling us to speak with each other and talk to each other in the form of group discussion. I had the chance to speak up on stage, even though it may not be a debate, even though it may not be a really impressive speech. I also remembered joining one of the public speaking competitions hosted by Standard Chartered, one of the banks in Hong Kong. Even though I didn't enter the finals, I remember I wrote Churchill's speech about never give up, and that speech was really long-winded, and it wasn't really what I'm doing now in YouTube, even though you may still find me really long-winded when I speak. That's my style, maybe. And at that time, even though I didn't manage to enter the finals, joining the competition still gave me a sense of how people were performing in terms of public speaking. So I started gradually to gauge where I'm at in terms of English. I didn't really have that blind lack of confidence anymore. I started to have a bit more confidence in myself day by day. So that's the story of how I ended up being a reasonably competent public speaker, even though I didn't exactly grew up to be one. I wasn't always one. And even though as a younger child, as a really young kid, I couldn't manage my stage fright, it ended up that I could do reasonably well in public speaking, and now I have the confidence to finally be speaking in front of the camera. It has taken a few years. If you happen to have seen my first video on my main channel, you will know that everyone's first video sucked, and mine was no exception. And if you happen to have seen my first video, you will know that I stuttered a lot in my first video, which I recorded, I believe, in Cantonese. You can take a look. I think I can put the link up there. It's always going to be a disaster if you start out doing something, but as long as you are not afraid of putting yourself out there and you are determined not to care more about what people think than your own progress, you will do well. So that's my experience, how I grew up from being a child who was really afraid of the stage, who was really afraid of public speaking, to ended up and become what I am today, a YouTuber who can speak in front of the camera, someone who is comfortable enough to speak on the stage. I once spoke at Google and they invited me as one of the speakers who shared with teachers how to start a YouTube channel. So that's my story. I hope you've enjoyed this little story today, and see you around.